All right. Hi, guys. This is another episode of Power of All podcast. I have a longtime friend here on the show today. We've been fortunate enough to get to know each other over the past decade. And it's a lovely woman. She has an amazing story, and I'm really excited for her to share it with you guys. This is Meeta. I don't want
Hi, everybody.
your last name Kaur, and she's great. So I asked her to come on the show just to share, her story. I think it would be a great idea for us to start. Where were you born? What was life like in your early childhood?
So I was born in India and belonging to Sikh family, as is following Sikhism, which is a very new religion. I grew up with a joint family with my grandparents, my uncle, aunts, and my parents and my brothers and sisters, which was a lot of fun when we were growing up. We had a lot of support, and you know, everybody was helpful. Everything was good.
Were
And
you
then,
were you in a
mhm.
city area or more of like a rural?
No, I was in the main city. It was the capital of India, New Delhi.
Oh,
That's where I was born in India.
oh, nice. Okay. And what was school like when you were young?
School was fun. I was
Yeah.
the notorious one, as you know me, the naughty. And yeah, I was always in trouble with my school. Teachers didn't like me much because I was a mischief maker. I was half the time out of the class student, but I loved going to school and I had lovely friends and it was good fun.
As you were growing into an adolescent, a young woman, what were some of the things that you went through at that time?
So when I was growing up, I I had my obstacles too in life. I was very dark skinned when I was a young kid. It was like not a very good thing back in India as well. It's
Oh, wow.
because we are brown skin, but
Hmm.
brown is fine. But if you're darker than brown shades, it's not a very thing. I mean, my family was a good support, so it didn't bother me much, and I didn't care too much about it. But I know back of my mind, it was there that you're not pretty, and
Hmm.
I don't feel that way. But it's
Yeah.
just what people. So I just put everybody's thought process behind me, and I led the life what I wanted to be.
It's so interesting that I think in many countries across the world, people have tan and brown skin, but yet somehow this idea that beauty is not,
Brown,
yes, exactly. Never.
it's just white.
And what's funny is too, because as a white person, like yesterday, my friend wanted to go to the beach. I need a tent because I burn and sizzle. And
Oh.
all we want is a tan. So that's what's so interesting about this.
Exactly. And I think when I was growing up, because of this difference that people had, I always thought like only, I mean, white is just, I mean, I'm not being racist or something. I'm just saying that color is just, if you're white, you're pretty beyond it. If you have features or no features, if you have character or no character, just being white is being beautiful. That's what the thought process was when you're like 11, 12. You think
Yeah.
about things like that, but I overruled it and I said no, I'm myself, and dark or not, I tried few creams to get brighter, and hey,
Mhm.
but it didn't work and I just let it go, and
Wa-
that's what my mindset was. Go ahead.
Was that encouraged? Young women and probably men doing creams, attempting to lighten their skin.
Oh yeah, back in India. Oh yes, a lot. I mean, you do like home remedies, and I mean, luckily my mom would say, but she would not pressurize me to do things out of the way to go. But they accepted me. My family accepted me the way I was,
Hmm.
and so I think that's very important for your family
Yeah.
to be by your side with everything, and that helped a lot. uh, I feel sad when I see kids today committing suicide for
Yeah.
certain small reason. I mean, I'm sure it happened back then, but we were kids, so we didn't have much awakening and much knowledge about things like that. But I feel it's more now because the kids have so much access to
Yeah.
internet, and we didn't have it back then.
Hmm.
So in a way that really helped us grow to more mature. I wouldn't say kids today are immature; they're smarter too. But you know what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
just the kids back then. Maybe they were book smart, not street smart. Some was, so it helped a lot.
And with the limited information, there really wasn't as much to compare yourself to.
There was a lot of comparison. Oh, I've seen, not to myself personally, but other families. Yes, there's the
Yeah.
even schools or her grades, and I mean there was comparison in every field when we were growing up. But I was lucky enough to have a very strong family background, which helped me to overcome all these small things, and didn't matter to me.
Now, do you think that there was more value? Because I personally think there is more value of, like you said, the whole family living together, being together, sharing that environment. I think it's so valuable because you learn so much from, grandparents, the older people in your family.
I would say that the values are there, but there's nothing wrong to be if things are not working. I don't disagree with this like separate nuclear family
Hmm.
lifestyle and everything, because I have kids now. They have their family and stuff like that, which I believe in. It's fair for
Yeah.
everybody to live. I mean, if you're lucky to have a family who's willing to live together, I think it's a blessing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, to each its own kind of a thing.
True. Now, did you notice, because of the whole lighter skin thing, did you notice that people, it affected their ability to find great work or anything like that to earn money the same?
Just about the color or other thing included,
I
just
feel like
gender.
here in the United States, when it came down to race and color, they found a way to limit the opportunity to people who had tan to darker skin. I was just curious if they did the same thing over there.
See, back in India, I think it is there in like certain part of India. But if you go down south, everybody has a darker skin,
Yeah.
and they excel. Their literacy is 99% in
Wow.
that side of, yeah, South India is 99% literacy over there. And it's, I think it's just more of any region because it's a vast region, so many religions and so many you know um, uh, dialects and like languages and everything. So I guess it's like, I personally feel it's going out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
If you're a Bengali, you think, eat, and do live lifestyle like them. If you're Punjabi, if you're a Sikh, you would do, live according to your lifestyle that you've been instilled with when you were kids.
Yeah.
That's my thought, but I don't know if everybody agrees on that or no.
You know, I'm not surprised at all that there's 99% literacy because here, obviously us Americans, we regard Indian people as being of the most intelligent of our population. So there's no surprise there. And it's really inspiring for all of us to try to emulate that because I feel like there's a lot more of a focus on intelligence, on learning, on accomplishing intellectual goals more than physical goals. Here it's kind of like, well, you have a nice 18-inch waist, 22-inch waist, you are the best. But if you have your doctorate, it's a whole lot more better,
Of course.
that kind of thing. So what was dating and kind of that teen life for you, you know?
My teenage life was very different from a usual teenage. I mean, I can compare my teenage life and my younger sister teenage life because
Huh.
we are a year apart. I was a tomboyish, so I didn't even care about the guy stuff and everything. But I was a chaperone in my school.
Hmm.
All the boys would ask the girls who would they like, their numbers. So I was the mediator for. I mean, I just had no interest, and I knew I would be in big trouble with my family So I never dared to date. So I mean, in back of my mind, I think I had that scare that my mom and dad would not be okay. My brother would not be okay with that. So I didn't even, think. And then, general lifestyle, because I was a tomboyish, I didn't even bother. I had friends. I mean, I had mostly guy friends from my school and a few a lot of girlfriends too. But, the people who are close to me are more boys because I spent a lot of time with them. So,
Yeah.
but the dating was hiding, secretive about everything because the parents can't know, the brothers can't know. My sisters dated guys, so I mean, maybe that was a lesson or an eye opener for me to see what they went through. I don't want to go through all that. So probably it was that. I don't know what it was, but yeah, it was bad. I mean, people dating was not considered when I was growing up. At
Mhm.
that time, was not a uh, parents were not proud of your children dating. How the culture is so different over here. Parents would, let the children date, like have, I
Mhm.
mean, now we're talking about live-in relationships and everything. As I said, each to its own, but it's personal to everybody. No, no one thing is, good for everybody. It's what suits you best. It's like,
I think that there's value in that as well. I mean, obviously being secretive and stuff is never too good, but a parent encouraging the kids to wait it out a little bit, find out your individuality a little bit more before you become reliant on a partner or somebody
yeah,
that you're with. Because I noticed that a lot in America, especially with my male and female friends.
right.
They constantly calling each other as if, the regular events of the day you can't handle on your own. You need this sounding board constantly to really tell you how to feel. I noticed that with a lot of young people and even some older people. I'm in my 30s, so in that range. And I noticed kids today, and even when I was younger, it was kind of like a group date. Two kids were interested in, and that's kind of the guys. Was
Mhm.
that kind of normal, or is it?
That was normal because you couldn't go out together with one person. So you say, oh, we are hanging out with friends. So if they're a bunch of friends together, parents are okay with that. As
So,
long as,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
So at what age does your family start to say, "Hey, maybe it's time for you to start to find somebody"?
I mean, but when I was growing up, I think at that point, um, it was not go find or we found.
Yes,
It
yeah.
was more of arranged than, uh, find your own partner at that time.
Hmm.
Things have changed now. Children are asked and they do dating. My nieces and nephews, they're dating each, the people who they like and all. I mean, the elder people, I would say the age, like if my mother, who's a grandmother for my nephew and nieces, she may be okay with something, but she may not be okay with other things. So it's two-way out. Things have definitely changed now. It's more open. Kids are working. I mean, lifestyle has changed back in India too. Everybody's working. Oh, back then when we were kids, we had, oh, you were going out for work. Why? My money's not enough for you. I'm supporting you. That kind of
Yeah.
things. But now kids want to work, be on their own, stand up on their own feet, have their own lifestyle, go to nuclear family style because they don't want any interference and stuff like that, and they don't want any responsibilities. So things are like half and half now.
I think that, and it's unfortunate, but right now I think in American popular culture, the only the only access that we have or that we see regularly is Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, Tan. He is the only, I would say, Indian figure that talks about the expectations from his family. Um, Also, they've had some guests on there that they've tried to help their life, and a lot of the focus is making their mom proud, because it's almost like, this unmarried man approaching his 30s. It's like, what are you doing, buddy? And they even show they have like a dowry suitcase with all this,
Mm.
gold and jewelry. Is that still a common practice? I mean, I think it's a good thing, but
Mm, it is. I don't think so. It's a good thing because it's a lot of pressure for the girl side to prepare the dowry system and everything, which is, I don't disagree with that. But nowadays, people don't ask, but it's a status symbol. Oh, my older one got a car, so the younger one
Oh,
has to get an expected and better car,
mm,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
So that yet prevails, unfortunately, which is not a good system because it's a lot of burden on the girl's parents' side. You're
yeah,
giving your daughter away, and then you have to, you know, give multiple gifts to depending on your status, and you want your child to be happy and be welcomed in the family, which is not a very good thing.
yeah,
So that part I'm not very happy about, to say that it yet prevails, but people are now getting smarter. Oh, you're giving it to your own child, you're not giving it to us, so if you give me few things, we are not, you know but it's a more of a status thing, which I feel should be cut down totally, because a lot of parents can't afford
yeah.
a huge wedding, a gifting system, and everything. And a lot is expected out of girls' family. So it's changing little by little. So let's
Huh.
hope it gets cut down.
I couldn't imagine that type of pressure on a lot of American girls because I don't want to say it seems that we're weaker in that way, but I don't know if a lot of American families would be able to handle that kind of pressure if that was the system here even,
Yeah, no,
decades ago.
it's it's unbearable pressure. Let me tell you on that. The
Mm.
dowry system is really bad. It's not a good system that can, of course, if you want to give something to whoever, it's okay. Like when it's like being, polite. If you go to somebody's house, you bring a bottle of wine or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's being polite.
Hmm.
But if it's like you're taking loans, you're mortgaging, like you're, refinancing your houses to
Yeah,
do
that's
that,
ridiculous.
that's ridiculous. So that's what I mean. I'm not against gifting. I love
Mhm.
that, but I think it's not necessary to do stuff like that.
Yeah. So how for you was there, do they pick maybe two or three suitors, or do they check, they kind of have a file and say, okay, his
Oh
education
yeah, yep.
background, and there's just one? Or do you know who your parents are considering? Are you involved at all in the process?
Some girls, I mean, I'm talking back then, I'm
Yes,
talking
yeah.
about 30 years back. Some girls were lucky who would say, okay, I don't like this one. But back then, there were very few cases where the girls were asked or, concerned. Even the boys, I would say, they were said, no, this is how. And I mean, it made their life miserable, unhappy, a lot of people, but they just dealt with it. And now I've seen a different scenario because I see my nieces and nephews growing up, and I see that my brother and his wife, they've grown up. They let the kids choose what they want to do. I mean, some decisions they're happy with, some decisions they're not. So which has changed, which is in a good way, because you're considering your child's happiness first
Yeah.
rather than your happiness. Because I mean, just for an example, my girls, I ask them to find themselves whoever they are happy with,
Hmm.
because you have to live life with them. It's not me who's going to live. So there's I have no I mean, I am glad that you are asking me permission, but I'm not going to live that life. You are going to live that life. So I'm personally, you know, have let them choose who they want to be with.
I think it's really valuable that you're saying that that's how it was decades ago, because I think a lot of people here in the States are under the impression that this is still a forced part of the Indian culture. And hearing you say that it's starting to evolve, I think that a lot of people need to open their eyes to the fact that it isn't 30, 40 years ago. And we're kind of, all of us are kind of saying, well, these women in this culture are a victim of this. And we don't understand that that is changing slowly but surely.
Yeah, I feel what it was 30. I'm sorry about that noise behind
It's all
this.
right.
I'm sitting
Grandkids,
outside.
Ashley.
So, yeah, I mean, back I'm talking about 30, 40 years back, it was the norm, which has changed tremendously. I would say, I mean, good for the economy that boomed from the Western countries. The work, the kids have been able to find their own jobs and, do what they want to do. And that has improved a lot. So financially, they're not dependent on people or their parents or their families. But I would say it's improved in, I would say, 80% ratio of improvement in today's Indian life. Though, I mean, the being Indian, 20% would always stay, but I think it's a major improvement. And plus, also, I remember when we were growing up, my grandmother would, we, as I said, we belong to Sikhism, and my grandparents were very broad-minded because we got equal rights in women for property and everything else. Like the earlier, I mean, long back, hundreds of years ago, when women were in trouble, they were not allowed to be, working, and not allowed to go, get any share of your property. And, that's when, I mean, Sikhism came in with a lot of other, reforms,
Yeah.
but this was giving women equal rights to equality, and everything has improved a lot for Sikh women. I mean, going to school, speaking up for themselves, which has made a lot of difference.
No, I think that's a good thing too that you're talking about Sikhism, because again, another misconception with Americans is we see an Indian person, everyone assumes that they're Hindi or Hindu, and they expect you to have, similar jewelry that we associate with that, bindis and all this, and people don't seem to know that there is more of a variety in India, far more religions than we kind of associate as American. Is
Absolutely.
it separated regionally? Do you notice that there's more Sikhism in the area that you lived? Is it kind of integrated in each city and rural area?
Earlier, it was, but now it's integrated. It's all over India. You will find Sikhs. I mean, Canada, England. It's worldwide now. I think. I mean, I'm proud to be a Sikh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the lessons that we've learned from our grandparents and our gurus
Yeah.
is one God and help others. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, you help others, be kind, and that's the first lesson that we learn when we are growing up as kids in a Sikh family. So which is a great thing, because it gives you opportunity. Personally, what I feel is for children to be equal. It's not like, oh, he's a son, so he gets more
Mm-hmm.
food. You're a child, like a girl child, you'll get less food, because that was the norm long time back. I would say hundreds year back, it was a norm. Or you can't go to high school because your brother has to go to high school, because
Oh,
he's going
wow.
to be back. I mean, people were poor at that time, and they were ignorant too, I feel.
Yeah.
So, oh, girls will have to go only girls school, boys could go to co-ed school. There was a lot of things, but now things have changed. Parents
That's
are,
great.
yeah, they are working 24/7 about thinking about how my kid's day is going to go tomorrow, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it depends from family to family as well.
So, as you got older and your family, I assume they decided an appropriate man for you and things like that. How did that kind of go from your perspective? Did it seem rushed? Did you get to hang out with him at all before you kind of got stuck with this guy? Or
I did get time to hang out with my um, ex-husband. I
hmm
can't say ex because we've not separated. We just separated.
hmm
But I don't think it was a happy decision for me, but
hmm
I took it because I thought maybe he is the one, which was, I tried my best. We
Yeah.
have talked about it personally so many times about this, but I don't think so. I was happy in that relationship. And I had emotionally left him many years back, but then I have kids. And then being there, it comes back to being being Indian, and back in India, you don't know you have two children. How you going to manage that? I just pulled on for a very long time, and then when I got this opportunity to leave, I
Mhm.
took advantage of that, and I brought my girls here.
So how old were your girls when you headed over?
My younger one was 13, and my older one was 18. Her 19th birthday we celebrated here. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And when you first came, was it a culture shock? Excuse me. Sorry about that. Was it
That's okay.
a culture shock?
Uh, few things, yes, but since, as I said, we were brought up in a very broad-minded family, and a very little bit of course, backwardness was there, but not a lot.
Hmm.
So, and we were in Mumbai, and now called Bombay,
Hmm.
and it was a cosmopolitan city, so we knew the lifestyle. Everything was like, but there are a few things that were cultural shock for me, and I'm sure the girls found it more shocking, and they had to adjust with the peer pressure when they were here, because of the skin color, then
Mm,
long hair, because we are not allowed to cut our hair. These
yeah.
are like, so they had their issues when they were here, but knock on wood, I mean, or they are brave enough to get out of all that and shine above whatever needed to be done at that time.
I even you having to say that about the peer pressure, it kind of aggravates me and brings back memories. I was in high school when 9/11 happened, and there was these
Oh,
young men who they wore hair pieces. It almost looked like they had kind of like a bun, and people were just awful to them. They had no idea, they couldn't identify what religion or even culture they were from, but people just kind of took one idea and started to label everybody underneath that.
see,
And
go ahead.
I could only assume that your girls were probably maybe in like middle school or around that time when
Right,
9/11 happened. Did you
right.
notice an increase in stress in them, or did they mention that they were being picked on after that happened more?
We weren't here at that 9/11
Oh,
time.
okay.
We came in 2008, much later than that.
Mm,
But yes, we did, because I had, when my girls were younger, I had a norm in the house that we, three of us would always sit down and talk about your day, how did it go, and everything.
yeah.
We kept it on for a long time, but then when I got busy with work, it got hard for us because of the timing, and when I would go back home, they were sleeping, or they were I was tired, I would sleep, and when I would leave, they were sleeping, so it didn't make time for us. But we practiced that for a very long time, and then yes, we did talk about all these things, and this is what happened, this is what someone said,
Yeah.
and it bothered me, and then we would be brave and talk about how to let it go or fight it,
Hmm.
depending on the situation and scenario we were in that time.
Yeah.
So it worked out fine with me, but you know what, I would really like to share with a lot of people, whoever can, uh, this, that talk to your children. It's very important. They can make, and today seeing more scenario of suiciding, and all this crazy stuff happening with teenagers. They don't have anybody to talk to. They have peer pressure.
Hmm.
They have pressure from school to excel. They have a lot of pressure. You would think, oh, life of a child is a happy child life.
Right.
No, there is a lot of pressure the kids can go through, the emotion, the trauma that you don't know, and
Yeah.
they don't know whom to address that. So
Yeah.
as a parent, I think it's a job
Hmm.
or a duty. I don't know if that's the right term I'm using. Parents should see what's bothering their child,
No, I agree with you.
so they don't come to a situation where they don't have nobody to talk to. And I mean, friends are there, but then the friends are also a part of peer pressure too.
Yes, yeah. I think,
They
yeah.
So I personally feel it's a job of a parent because you decided to bring this child in this world. That's my
Mhm.
own philosophy. You have to see that your child is ready for whatever has to come for.
True.
It's your duty to prepare. It's like a school you are running for your children. You're sending them to school, learn ABC, but sit down with them, talk to them,
Mhm.
talk about basics like God. I know some children won't like it, but if you just keep saying it once and there,
Mhm.
you don't know what your child will pick up.
I completely agree with you. I think that, and I feel the same way. I think it's an obligation of a parent to try to establish some form of communication with your child. I grew up
Even
in.
if it's through texting. I remember when I worked in Krauser's,
Mhm.
the texting was the only mode we were connected.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of customers were, oh, you're always on the phone. I'm sorry. I'm a parent
yeah.
first, and then I am serving you, and I'm doing my duty as a clerk. I'm
Hmm.
doing what I need to do, but my girls come first. I'm helping you with whatever is needed to be taken care of.
Hmm.
So my children come first.
Let me just say to all of you guys that are watching or listening, Meeta and I actually met at the Krausers. My family, we would come to that store all the time, and she's saying people would complain about the phone. I can't say that I ever noticed it because you're so personable. I don't really know, how people would notice that because we always had great conversation. I never felt as if you were like rushing me, like, hey, I got a call. None of that. So I think also that kind of has to do a little bit with their personalities and approach.
I think it's not the personality and approach. To me, I thought it was just because I'm an Indian.
Yeah, that's what I.
If it was another white person, I don't think so. They would comment or
Hmm.
you know. I mean, I've been friendly to everybody,
Yeah.
and I'm that personality. So I'm very personal to everybody. I would know a lot of people's name. Everybody was like, I mean, but then you get few people who are not happy with you,
Hmm.
and I think that's what is hard because coming to a new country with different culture, different kind of. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to a school where I could learn and talk English, and college was co-ed, and so I didn't have much problems. But a lot of Indian people do have cultural problems with sorry,
Okay.
um, uh, because of the language is a big barrier for them to
Yes.
talk, to open up. Indian people are very friendly people, very friendly, and they will go an extra mile to be there for you for anything. But at the same point, it's the language, I think, now, which is lesser because since, you know, people are more educated than what they were like 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Hmm.
So it's different now. It's getting better now. But then yet, people yet feel that, oh, from different culture, what do you know about this culture? What do you know about this country? Of course, whatever we've read in like little bit of our syllabus, we
Hmm.
know that, of course. So in the same way, what do you know about India? I mean, it's just an example I'm setting. I'm
Yes.
not trying to be rude here or anything. It's
No.
just because you don't know, don't
Mhm.
judge.
Yes, that's exactly why when I was writing a list of who I wanted to try to get onto the podcast, I reached right out to Meeta because there is a lot of Americans who are interested in learning about other cultures and embracing our fellow Americans, and fellow citizens of the world, but we don't know anybody to learn about. It's one thing to read in a book about a culture and to hear say maybe on entertainment where real questions aren't asked, but it's different to have a sit down with an actual woman or man who experienced it all, who has come here. And exactly like you said, my experience with the Indian culture, when I was younger, I had a friend who was Hindu, and she brought me to Garba, and that was at Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. I'm sure they still have it if any of you guys are interested in trying to find out. Um, And it was such a vibrant community. I mean,
Yes.
everyone was dancing as a group, beautiful, beautiful colors and clothing and jewelry, and just a joyous kind of vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people aren't privy to that. Really, a lot of people, the only interaction they have with Indian Americans are at a hospital. So they assume that the personality or the conduct in which they have to carry, they carry themselves at work is is their personality. And we're forgetting that they're just on the clock right now. And when they go
Yeah.
home, they're full people. So I was really excited when you agreed to be on
Of
because
course, I would do anything for you. And and I really appreciate you bringing me up here. Thank you for that.
oh, no problem. I think it's going to be really valuable for people, um, because it's important, especially now what's going on with our country, with the world. We need to learn to identify with one another. And although you may have grown up in a different place and I grew up here or whatever, at the heart of it, we are both the same people in that we are people who are just trying to live a good life, and
Absolutely.
and to be kind to others and to uphold our moral obligation that we feel to others, to our God, and that kind of thing. Um, so more questions. So how did you approach, like, as your girls were in school and everything, um, how did you approach them when they finally found their mate? I'm sure you were excited about it, but there was
Um,
weddings and there was this and
yeah, as we all said one time, there's an age. My personal feeling again.
Mhm.
I think there's a specific age. If you're a child, there's an age to play. There's when you are in school, that age is to be learning, because once you finish school, there's no way you're going back to school and learning things. So age appropriatable. Of course, I might have given my older one or younger one hard time when they said about guys when they were 14 or 13 or 17. But when later they grew up as young women, I was more than happy to, uh, I don't want to say a wrong thing. Of course, when my daughter was seeing a white guy,
mm-hmm.
I I have nothing against, but initially I just had my own thing. My own thing is, when you have children, you will be happy, everything. When you have children, how are you going to raise that child? Of course, it's your child, you decide. But you will have a separate background. You will have a separate background. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent it is right, but I don't want to label it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my personal experience. So I appreciated it, and I welcomed everybody, whoever the girls were seeing, which is a good thing because you want your child to be happy. It's their life. You want them to live happily
Mm-hmm.
ever after. So that's why I gave my children the right to choose their own partner.
Yeah.
And not telling them, no, you do this and no, that. My older one is very happy. My younger one is yet finding her soul. So
Yeah.
I'm giving her space and time. With time, I've learned to grow and mature,
Yeah.
in certain things. So I think every day is a learning. If you think, sometimes they say, oh no, only elders can teach youngers, but there's a lesson to be learned from your children as well. So you just have to make a conscious effort of doing that and learning new things from your child. It could not be only technology, it could be about emotions, relationships. I would handle my relationship something differently when I see my daughter handling it differently. I learn,
Yeah.
you know, because that's the time, that's the need of, need of the time or time of the need. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
one of the thing. So I feel you learn, and it's hard for anybody. I would say this: any country, any religion, any caste, any creed, anything. Everybody has their own pressures and own battles to fight. Nobody has a easy life. Everybody has their own battles to fight. Just just give a moment and, be with people. And, if you help, my philosophy, if you help someone when in your need of time, somebody will definitely come and help you out for a situation. It could not be only financially, emotionally,
Hmm.
physically. you know it's
Yeah.
you I mean, I have a very big example over there. When I was in Krauser's, I don't know if you remember, I used to walk
Hmm.
from King Street to Krauser. That was a 45 minutes walk.
Hold on, you're freezing up a little bit.
What are you doing by the train station? He said, I told him, oh no, I live by it. He's saying, I thought you lived by the store. I said, no, I live.
Hold on,
Next
Meeta.
day, up for tears in my eyes. Every night, he would come and pick me up and drop me home. You are not walking back home in this night.
Wow.
For, I would say, 3 years. 3 years.
Wow.
Nobody does that. So, you know what? That's why I said caste, creed, nation, nothing matters. Just being a good soul is what matters.
Definitely. Did
And
you?
you guys were there hanging out all the time. I just had to pick up my phone and call.
Mhm.
Hey, that's that. So it's not just, it's just being a human being kind of
Well,
a feeling.
I think as far as my family goes, I think your personality is the reason why we all felt very comfortable to be around there and to have great conversations with you. Again, it's not really often that when people go into stores, or not necessarily if the staff is Indian or whatever, we tend to kind of gloss over. We don't have that human interaction in the way that we should. And I think that you fostered an environment when people entered there that they knew this is a safe environment. We're all a group here. It was almost like a community with our neighborhood.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, and you're used to seeing all the same people and everything, and that was really great. Did you notice, as as your girls and yourself, as you had, more American or white, Hispanic, Black, and Asian friends, that they were interested in learning your culture? Did they want to come over for dinner and say, hey, did you see a huge interest from people in your guys' lives that wanted to learn about your culture?
Not really a cultural learning, but yes, a lot of interactions. I mean, I think that's the beginning of a learning too. If you are, you know, being friend to Chinese, Korean, anything, you learn a little bit about it. But I never felt that somebody had an interest. But I mean, everybody was welcomed, and whoever came home. And my girls have friends from different, you know, different part of the world from here, and so I would say it was like people were like keen or anxious, but then once you're friends, I think that automatically comes in. You get to know a little bit, and then sometimes you get more interested, or it's because I remember very vaguely, I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying one of my uh, daughter's friend, when she was in college, had asked her, oh, you're going to be forced to get married to somebody, so are you going to
Mhm.
date or something? So she said,
Yeah.
oh, my mom doesn't believe in dating, but I don't think so she will have any problem if I ever dated or anything. It's just a very vague memory from many years back when she was just started college in New
Yeah.
York. So yeah, of course, people have perceptives, which they will always have, but
Mhm.
I think it's time to change.
Mhm.
I mean, I used to be, say a few things about, oh, this one, I'm a human too. I,
Mhm.
I, I've never tried to make judgments on people. That's my personality. But I had few things which bothered me. But now, after seeing all this, what's happening past few months with
Mhm.
the COVID, everybody coming up together, that's what life is.
Yeah,
Be together,
exactly.
be
I think
helpful,
that's a message that's
live
so
in
important.
oneness.
Yeah. That message is so important right now because it's
Mhm.
so easy to allow ourselves to be, to be broken up into segments and to not want to see or learn about any of the other sides of it. Um, so, actually, talking about COVID, I'm sure you have family still in India. What has your communication been with like them?
Yes.
How are they holding up? Um, and are they, are they well? Is everyone have
I
resources?
Yes, everybody's doing well within my family, and I mean there are a lot of cases that are going up. My family lives together. My mom is with my brother and his family, and they're managing pretty well. They're doing what's needed to be done. They're staying home, and off like I think last week or 10 days, 2 weeks before ago,
Hmm.
they opened up certain parts and stores. So I mean, my brother has started going to the store, and but they are not physically interacting, you
Yeah,
know. But it's scary
yeah,
because it's the same situation. You don't want your shop to be closed for I mean you're losing money and plus. But then on the same note, you are conscious about your health also. You don't want to take anything home because you have kids, you have ailing parents and stuff like that. So
mhm,
they're doing very well. Thank you for asking. They're all well. And I think in India, too, people are trying to make sure they're sticking together. And plus, I believe there are a lot of Gurdwara. That's the places where we go worship. It's like
okay.
so we have huge kitchen system in a Sikh community.
Hmm.
It's called langar, where you serve food even if you from
Wait, hold on, Mita, you're breaking up.
not be three.
I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
breaking
am
up.
I better now?
Yes, would
Am
you
I
go
better?
back to where you said it's called Lugi?
Langar,
Lung,
langar, Langar, langar,
lung.
which is a food service that is provided all three meals. Whoever's there will be served
Wow.
beside their health, their caste, creed, anything. And we all sit in one line on the floor. Everybody sits together. You can't say, "Oh, I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting there." It's you have to sit wherever there's place, and you eat together over there. That I think brings a lot of humbleness in us sick people. That because you're not trying to be separated or disintegrated, and you show that human beings are human beings
Exactly.
besides everything else. So they are doing a lot of langar seva, and seva is like serving. So
Hmm.
they're doing kitchen soup kitchen kind of things, which is providing a lot of people food. So I mean, God sees that nobody can sleep empty stomach. So, but there are a lot of people who are suffering as well back in India too.
I think that that is beautiful, and that's something that all of us should try to embrace here in the States. We kind of look at communal meals as just like soup kitchens instead of an opportunity for community to gather, to find strength in one another, to serve one another, and to ultimately make one another better. Um, Another question I have to ask, and I know it's kind of sensitive, but I know now in the news they're talking about kind of there's more stress at the border between India and China, and that they have recently had some friction there. And I just wanted to know in general, because a lot of you guys, we know we are not the decisions our government makes. We are
Yes,
not their beliefs or their actions. And it's the same thing for those people in China and in India. So,
absolutely.
as an Indian person, I wanted to see your perspective on this because sometimes that gets blurred. We just don't realize that the same as here, those are wealthy military politician men, and those aren't the people. Um, yeah, so why don't you just share your perspective a little bit on it?
So, coming to that, India has always been attacked by multiple
Oh, hold on, you froze up a little bit.
invaders and since many decisions, as you said very well, that they are always made by the politicians. It's a game politicians play, or that's that their norm or rule. I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to use bad comment on that, but I'm sure they are seeing something for the
Mm-hmm.
future, which has improved
Mm-hmm.
in many ways.
Yes.
If you, I mean, of course, if they are at that stature, they know a little bit more than what we know to
Yeah.
make, because we think as one person.
Yes.
I, as a one person, will think about my kids, my family.
Yes.
I, as one person, will think about myself, my family, and my immediate family. So my
Mm-hmm.
circle is limited.
Yes. Yeah.
When they are at that seat, it's not a limited eyesight they have. They have to look up for millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my perspective. But I don't know who, I'm not anybody to judge of who's right, who's wrong.
Oh yeah.
So if the government thinks that this is the norm, this should be done, I'm sure they put multiple hours of thought process,
Mm-hmm.
multiple decisions. I'm sure it's not a decision just taken by, one person. It's multiple people who sit together, and I'm sure they're at that stature right now to make the decision for a country. Some may be good, some may be bad, but as citizens, we should definitely, you know, abide as our
Mm-hmm.
duties. We rights, but do your duties as well as a citizen. You're only not right to take your rights and not do your duties. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say on that. If they're right, who's right?
Yeah.
At this point. So it's my personal thought that you know
Yeah.
they know what they've done their homework. They know what
Mm-hmm.
they're doing. So let them do their work. If you were working, so
Are you?
anybody wants a chef doesn't like another chef coming up and
Yeah.
putting
In
his
the
2 cents
kitchen.
in. So it's kind of that thing. My
I.
my my mentality works like that.
I
If
think I.
I thought like that, I would have been the president of India. I should have been there then.
I think I'm just interested in, with these type of conflicts that have arisen, does each family, do they hunker down during that time? Do they say, okay, let's tighten the belt and try to save in case this grows into more of something?
Yes,
Or
yes,
okay, yeah,
yes, yes, they do.
that's great.
I think personally it's a smart thing to do. Let the
Mhm,
government do what they're doing. But
mhm,
as I said, you're one person. You see yourself, you see your family, you see your immediate family. So you definitely want to prepare. Like, for an example, if you know there's an earthquake coming or there's a hurricane coming, you gather
mhm.
your stuff and keep them all
Exactly.
intact together, close to you. So
Yes.
if time needs, you you have it. So it's
Yeah.
that kind of a situation, and I think it's the right thing to do also.
Definitely, I think that's a lesson for everyone across the world as well. And I think that COVID really highlighted it, that so many people are not prepared for anything. And we need to try to learn to respect our resources. Because I think kind of all of us, we're kind of just like a get rid of it when it's done society. And we don't realize that, no, that we need those things. And you need to try to get some supplies and get those things, and also the value of, like you're saying, the community, your friends, your family, and kind of get together and say, okay, our government's doing this, but what can we do together to ensure the safety of our family?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I think it's really important, and that's why I'm so glad you're on here too, because like I said, people just don't have access to people they feel comfortable with talking to, asking questions, and learning about it. I would say maybe in the older, born the 20s, 30s, white Americans, they don't necessarily have too much of a desire to get to know other cultures, unless in their early days, unless when they were young, there was something that kind of kicked that off in them. But I would say now there's a lot of people in their 40s and under who are really interested. They just don't know how to go about it without seeming
About
Yeah, without seeming like, oh, I think there's a difference between us. Instead of embracing it and say, hey, I want to learn about that difference. I might like a lot of stuff that you like, and I had no idea, you know?
It it goes same way for the other people too. I'm glad you said that because it's the same thing. Everybody should be open,
Mhm.
not only white Americans, not only Black Africans, but also Indian, Asians. Everybody should be open. That's what needs the time calls for. Everybody needs to be educated. Everybody should know that every day is going to be a learning.
Mhm.
You learn, make a point, make something, tell yourself, I have to learn something new today.
Mhm.
I have to learn something new today, every day. Eh, Just think about it. In a year, you learn 365 things that you didn't know a day before yesterday. So, and everybody should cooperate and, get together and try to learn, be good human being, not harming people. And I think this COVID should have taught a lot of new lessons to people. I've learned few, which is great. And s I mean, everybody should learn something that, being safe is, very important. And you watch out for yourself and you watch out for your neighbors, your family, and, that's how you grow. First yourself, then your family, then your neighbors, then your community, then you keep growing up and up and up. And, you know, a few people, if they start doing, I think world will be a better place with all love and respect.
Definitely. I actually, I think that's a great place to stop there because I don't think it could be said any better than that. Meeta's exactly right, guys. It's important right now, especially with COVID, and we shouldn't have needed COVID to give a lesson like this. But there is strength in community, and community is not defined by somebody who looks like you or lives in your neighborhood or shares the same economic status as you or has the same level of education as you. It is all of us. We are the definition of community, and we need to learn to embrace that and to find strength in that because up until this point, we haven't. And we should be embarrassed, frankly, about that. So this is an opportunity for us to grow, get out there, get to know somebody who you never have before. If you don't have any friends who are Asian, go seek out somebody that is Asian and befriend them and welcome them into your family and do the same. Ask to be welcomed into theirs because all it takes is for you to open that conversation and you may really relate to somebody and learn a lot about your fellow human. And just like Meeta said, it would be better for all of us if we tried to embrace kindness for ourselves, look out for ourselves, our neighbors, and our community. And that's the only way that we can all get through this as a world, um, while keeping our hearts intact and becoming better for it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this as much as I did. Again, Meeta and I have known each other for a long time, and we've never really had an opportunity to have this in-depth of a conversation about her growing up and stuff. And I hope it was really informative for you guys. And in the future, I would definitely love to have you back on. And I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. You know that. And I hope if anybody has any questions or anything, you can just ask. Anybody wants to know anything about anything. If anybody's, fighting a battle they can't handle, I say just go and talk. If you have nobody, at least go talk to God,
Yes,
because I
exactly.
talk to my God a lot. I'm sure
Amen.
he's tired of me of talking to him.
And you guys, if any of you have some questions and you don't know anybody and you just kind of want to express those questions, please put them in the comments. I'm sure that there's plenty of other people who are willing to share information. Limit the mean ones. Nobody's got time for that. But let's make it an open place where we can kind of speak about these things. Mita will have access, obviously, to the page and may be willing to eventually allow you guys to reach out to her. So don't be afraid to try to communicate and try to learn. So you guys be well to yourselves, be well to others, and we can get through this together. All right. I love you, Mita. I'm going to
I
let you go.
Thank you so much, and love to everybody. and we'll talk soon.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.